Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Banker's Bookshelf. The Banker's Bookshelf is our opportunity to learn from the authors and the researchers of the most interesting books and publications that discuss the present and the future of banking with technology. And today, I have the glad pleasure of having with us Jean-Philippe Desbiolles. Jean-Philippe Desbiolles is the author of L'AI sera ce que tu en feras, which in English means AI will be what you make of it. Jean-Philippe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paolo, for this invitation. Extremely happy to be with you.
Jean-Philippe, I know that your book is in French. I know that many of the people in our audience speak French, but not everybody. Notwithstanding, I believe this is a relevant book, so I wanted to make sure that you could discuss it on a global stage. And of course, the book is available on Amazon, on most of the book platforms, so I invite everyone to take a look. And please tell us your elevator speech. So why would the audience of the Banker's Bookshelf buy and read L'AI sera ce que tu en feras?
What is extremely interesting and funny is the fact that the first book, L'IA sera ce que tu en feras, has been written by me in 2019, in fact. And quite a long time in the AI era, a long time, 6 years, 7 years. And when the editor, Duno, called me back a few months ago, tell me, Jean-Philippe, we would like to re-edit the book with a new insight on what is happening around generative AI, on agentic AI, and many other things. I said that why do you want me to re-edit the book and just write few new things, and why we don't create a completely new book? And their answer was, what you have written in 2019, many things are still accurate, are still operational, and are still relevant for players who are right now scaling AI in financial services and other industries. So the starting point of the re-edition of AI, what you will make of it in 2026, is the fact that many principles, many use cases which were part of the initial edition are still relevant, but we added 40% of the content completely new based on what is happening right now around the acceleration of AI related to generative AI, agentic AI, and between you and me, the penetration of AI in the society.
So AI will be what you make of it, already spelled the foundations of an AI world. Then many things happened between 2019 and now. Certainly, large language models, so generative AI became a mainstream, but also agentic AI took everybody by surprise by the capability to grow and to build new use cases so fast, much more than in the past. So what's in the AI world beyond the hype before we dive deeper into the content of the book?
To be honest with you, I think that, and this is why the title of the book is so important, AI is what you will make of it, it's about us, it's about humans. We talk a lot about technology, we talk a lot about businesses, we talk a lot about use cases, and this is fine because this is extremely important. But at the end of the day, the most important factor in all of this is about humans. We have to be in control of what is happening. We have to be the player of this AI revolution within the society, within the corporation, and for our personnel usage. So my point is about the fact that human needs to be at the heart of everything we do with AI in order to create a virtuous cycle versus a vicious one. So this is basically all the principle of the book. And I think that too many people are focusing on the technology, on the organization, and I don't say this is not important, but at the end of the day, human are at the heart of everything we have to do. And why? And the main reason is, this is, I think, one of the most major impacts that we're facing with AI right now. It is impacting all the jobs, it is impacting all the behaviors, all the skills, all the way we are interacting with others, all the ways we are working with others. And we need to think about what is real value of what we do in order to create, again, as I said, a collaborative mindset with AI. Because as I am describing in the book, AI, in my perspective, is not only a tool, AI is as a co-worker, is a fact that we need to shift in the mindset from a tool perspective to a collaborative era where we need to create the new conditions which are shaping this co-working with AI in almost everything we do.
So that's an interesting perspective, Jean-Philippe. So AI is not another human. AI is not a tool. It's a co-working opportunity that sits at the heart of the way humans move forward in life and in enterprises, which is about learning. And therefore, the question is, how are banks reorganizing, in your view, their learning factories?
As you know, Paolo, I have decided to write this book with a man who is called Laurent Prudent. Laurent is the head of the cognitive factory within a banking group, Crédit Mutuel in France. And I am working with Crédit Mutuel since now more than 10 years. And as your question is about the banking industry with AI, one of the key things that Laurent and myself have worked in the last 10 years is what we call the cognitive factory. The cognitive factory has been created 6 or 7 years ago, and it's about an operating model which is designed in order to scale AI within the organization. Because one of our convictions was 6 years ago that without the appropriate operating model, we cannot scale AI within the enterprise. We cannot infuse AI within the business processes of the bank. And that's why we created this cognitive factory. And this factory is described in the book, the reedition of the book, where we have a deep dive into this notion of factory. What is a factory? How it works? What are the missions of this factory? And how to really ensure that we can scale with the right level of speed within the enterprise AI in all the business lines of the bank. And that's why we think, and I think, that the notion of factory is critical in order to achieve this objective. The second point, Paolo, is I think that we continue, I think, too much to focus on the notion of POC, of pilot. We need to think at scale. We are facing something which is highly impactful for the businesses, highly impactful for the people who are working within the enterprise. And that's why we need to think as an industrial player, not as a sort of startup working somewhere. We need to scale. We need to infuse AI. We need to impact the business processes. In order to do so, we need to bring the right operating model, cognitive factory, working closely with the line of businesses in order to create the right dynamic, the right speed of the transformation.
Okay, so basically we are saying as AI is not a tool, it's not just a plug and play. A POC typically goes around the technology that can be plugged into a very narrow type of implementation. Instead, the value of AI will come from reorganizing the whole activity of an enterprise, its organization, its processes, its manufacturing, whatever the manufacturing is. Also, banks manufacture financial contracts and risk management opportunities. So in the end, it's about focusing on the cognitive factory, the factory that can learn, that can move things forward, and understand how AI then can be inserted at various levels of its maturity and its journey. New AI models will be created, and new AI routines and capabilities will be generated. And what I also like of what you said earlier on, Jean-Philippe, is that there is a dichotomy between virtuous and vicious. It's not about technology to decide that. It's about humans to understand how to implement it in a vicious way or in a virtuous way, which is what you...
That's my point, Paolo. This is exactly my point. And that's why the title of the book in 2019 and now in 2026 with the new content is so relevant. It will be what we will make of it. No more no less. And it's so important to do so in the corporate world. And between you and me, it's also so important to do in the society.
Yeah, also personal usage. So essentially, right? Will
Absolutely.
make sense of it or not. Now, there's a lot of interesting elements inside the book, and we cannot cover them all. One of the frameworks that I enjoyed is the seven pillars. So we can cover that, but essentially, you're saying we need to learn with AI, we need to reinvent management with AI, we need to understand that the machine is also equally important. We need to master the art of prompting, which is what keeps everybody busy these days with the social media enablement of AI or personal research. We need to relearn to think
Yes.
before, during, and after the AI, which is also very relevant. So our thinking process is deeply part of the process, cannot be replaced. We may need to understand how to implement a responsible adoption as some parts of human activities are replaced at the core of usage. And we need to rethink processes end to end. Now, of all of this, I guess we can focus on three, which I think are extremely relevant for this conversation. The concept of the co-era, the
Yep.
four ways of relationships, and the issue of trust, adoption, and therefore return on investment, ROI. So let's start with the co-era.
Absolutely, Paolo. The co-era is extremely important. The point is very simple. I think we entered with AI in a new era where we need to learn how to work with AI. And as I said before, not AI as a tool, but AI as a coworker. Point number one. But this statement is not only, let's say, a marketing statement. It has to be translated into a very operational way and operating model to make sure we are able to do it. And one of the main reasons is AI will cover many tasks or activities we are currently doing. Some of them will be completely done by AI, some of them will be done jointly, and potentially some of them will be done by human only. So it's not black or white. We are facing a situation where we need to think and to make sure that the right thing is done by the right player. AI alone, human alone, or human plus AI. You start to see that the work that we are currently doing will be done tomorrow with a mix, with an hybrid model that we need to fix in order to make sure we are creating a virtuous cycle. One of the consequences of that is, as a human being, we need to learn to not cover or not do everything. We need to learn a sort of behavior, a let go behavior, lâcher prise in French, let go behavior, where we will not continue to do everything. This point is easy to say, not easy to do, because by design, a human likes to control everything, love to supervise everything, and between you and me, we love to do almost everything. We need to learn to let go behavior in order to make sure AI will do things, we will continue to do things, we with AI will do things, and this is this new world that we need now to embrace in this co-era period.
Okay, so the Coera is a continuum of engagement where, according to the preference or the domain of application, there will be more human activity, more activity, a certain or balanced blend of the two, so on and so forth. And the key element is the lâcher prise, so the let go, if you like, approach, because you also need to learn to do differently. And, we tend to, as humans, being used to things, and we want to keep things as they are. So one of the domains where this change will happen is relationships. So there are four ways
Yeah.
relationships to identify in your research and publication. Which are they?
We are facing a new model, and mainly due to agentic. Why? Because at the end of the day, the customers will have some agents who will do many things for them on behalf of them. On the other side, the banker will develop their own agents, and these agents will do things on behalf of the banker. So if you visualize a model, you will have agent of client, agent of banker, and we will continue to have the customer and the banker who will continue to create interactions and relationships within this model. But you need to take a step back and to see this model as four players: agents, customers, bankers. The complexity of this model will be extremely high because these agents will work on behalf of you and they will do things. They will interact between each other and they will do some transactions on behalf of you as a customer or as a banker. So this model needs to be understood in order to make sure that we continue to be in control of all these activities, which will be done within this new complex relationship model, combining agents, humans, in the same kind of interaction. Some of the interactions will be synchronous, some of the interaction will be asynchronous. So the complexity of the model is extremely high. And between you and me, we need to rethink completely the customer relationship management in order to continue to be able to track what is happening, to supervise what is happening, to monitor what is happening, and to be relevant in this new model. This is what I called the notion of four ways relationship model, which is completely transformed, mainly due to the agentic.
That's very interesting. So what you said, Jean-Philippe, is that there is a co-era happening where in the continuum of relationships, there will be definitely humans and AIs working more together, less together, different levels of, if you like, collaboration. But all of this is compounding to an extra level of complexity, which also means capability, in the sense that we're not just talking about humans and AI, we're talking about agents of the financial institution, agents representing the customer, the counterparty. Therefore, institutions, counterparties, agents of the banks, agents of the counterparty, interacting in a very complex or variable way, and the coordination, the orchestration of all of that in a secured way is what that unlocks new ways of basically doing business and growing, which, however, needs to be trusted. So we cannot close without discussing a bit the other element of the framework, which is about trust, adoption, therefore ROI.
Everything is about trust, Paolo, especially within the financial industry, especially in the financial industry. So trust is extremely important because it's directly correlated to the level of adoption. So without trust, you cannot create adoption with client and within the enterprise. And without adoption, you cannot create return on investment. And the notion of trust, I think, as it's like a cake with different layers. You have obviously the foundation of the trust on a technology standpoint. So the good news is we are able right now to get some platform which enable us to make sure that AI is transparent, is robust, is explicable, and many other things. But you have also the regulatory context where we need to be compliant with the regulations where we operate. This is a given. This is a must. There is no negotiation here. But we need to think abroad and to think about the notion of ethics. And ethics, for me, is not a word which has to be, sort of a fuzzy word or something which is not operational. The notion of ethics has to be translated into extremely pragmatic and operational values within the enterprise to make sure that we know what ethics means related to AI usage within the enterprise and outside the enterprise. And that's why I like some customers who are right now mainly in Europe, by the way, in different industries. They have decided to work and communicate externally and internally in what they called in sort of AI ethics guidance. But this AI ethics guidance are translated into some principles which are translated into operational commitments, which are translated into real KPI. And this is what I am talking about when I am talking about notion of AI ethics framework. This is extremely real, extremely operational. And one word, Paolo, think about if we don't do it. If you don't do it, people will act with what they think is ethics. But maybe what they think is ethic is not what the company wants to see as real ethics guidance. So you have a big risk. That's why it's a must for me to work, design, build, and communicate your AI ethics guidance. It's a must, Paolo.
So in this stronger design of banking or companies' operations, all of these aspects related to the posture of AI take center stage, and they cannot be delegated nor added at the very end. There needs to be thought through at the very beginning as the architectures are built and the, if you like, guardrails are created in a way that everybody's comfortable that AI farà ciò che tu vorrà.
Yeah.
If I can say something like that. Now, to conclude, at the end of the book, there is a section that promotes a set of use cases or realizations that can be, they're very varied. It's not just banking. So if there's one that you want to highlight, whether it is banking or in a different industry, which is the one you want to pick up that you believe is the most interesting?
The point is, in 25 years of professional life, Paolo, I have never seen such a pervasive topic. AI is impacting all of us, is impacting all industries, and nobody and nothing will escape. So when you talk about use cases, you have thousands of use cases which are now impacted. And this is no more about use cases. My point is about how the corporation is redesigned through an AI landscape. AI is at the center of the transformation, is impacting right now all business processes, all procedures, all works, all jobs, whatever they are. So my point is, it's no more about use cases. It's about AI as the key driver of an holistic transformation of the corporation. And between you and me, I could say AI at the center of the transformation of the society. It is changing step by step, slowly, everything we do. That's my point, Paolo. It's no more a question of use cases.
It's a very good call. So, Jean-Philippe, I thank you for having participated to the Banker's Bookshelf and reaching our series of episodes. If I can sum it up a little bit, I think we said it's upon us to decide if we want to be virtuous or vicious. It's upon us if we want to decide to see AI as a tool or as a co-working opportunity in the continuum of the type of relationship we have with technology. It is upon us if we want to see AI like two things, like man and machine, while in reality we have a multiplicity of actors where machine will interact with machines, agents with agents, they will all interact with people, and people interact with people. So the usual perspective of the client and institutional relationship shifts and changes and blends into a multiplicity of engagement models. And we identify them as the four ways management. And of course, trust needs to be at the core. So it's also upon us to decide what we want to do with the end organization as well as in society. So I can only invite everyone to take a look at the AI sera ce que tu en feras. L'AI sera ce que tu en feras. Okay, AI will be what you make of it. And thank you for the participation.
Thank you so much, Paolo. Take care.
So I remind everyone, the Banker's Bookshelf is our opportunity to learn from authors and researchers of the most interesting books and publications that shape the present and future of financial services. Thank you for your attendance. This is the jingle.